Hey guys, so today I want to make a video on how to set up a rocket fuel power plant, and I'm doing it in this blue crater area here on the map. And the reason for that is simply because there's just such an abundance of resources that you need in order to create rocket fuel, especially around the amount of oil that's in the area. You also need a little bit of iron, which is readily available, but most importantly you've got a pure sulfur and a pure coal node right next to each other, so you can easily create compacted coal, which you need for turbo fuel. And then later on in the chain, in order to create rocket fuel, you need to use nitrogen gas. So these can all be piped and belted all the way from up here down to here, and we can put it together into a production chain to go from fuel to turbo fuel and into rocket fuel and then into fuel generators. So you'll notice at the start of this video I kind of had a small scope on what I wanted to set up for the rocket fuel power plant, but as I built it I quickly realized how massive this power plant can actually become, so I just keep expanding on that. And it generates quite a decent amount of power, about 100,000 megawatts. So take a look at it, and I start the video off when I've already piped some of the resources from here down to here, and the start just kind of focuses on setting up that initial fuel generation with the oil, and then it expands from there. So hopefully you enjoy the video, and thanks. I've bought in the gas, the iron, and the compacted coal. Further up there I have some machines that are combining the sulfur and the coal together to make the compacted coal. So I'll be using that to put into the second chain of this. So let's go ahead and start building. And there we have our first 5. So we will have enough room to the left there to expand on that. That little island is going to be a bit of a problem, but we'll deal with that when it comes. And we'll set up some oil to come in over here. So let's get an oil extractor down. So this one's 300. That one's 300. This one 300. Okay. Can we get this to 600? Yes, we can. Okay, in that case, the furthest one we want is this one. So we want to target the one that has the furthest distance along, so that like the middle one can go to where the middle group will be set up, and vice versa. And we will route this into the middle pipe, and that's going to be evenly split. Okay, now the next part is, what is that, the turbo fuel. So we want this to be like a 1-to-1 into the pipes. So we've got exactly 40 fuel that it's taking in, and each of these is producing exactly 40. So 40 to 40, and we put in the compacted coal, and that's going to generate the turbo fuel for us at 33.333. So let's just bring this across into here. We actually need to put one more down, don't we, for turbo fuel. Okay, so now we have the fuel set up from the oil, and that's being passed into these turbo fuel refineries, and the compacted coal is coming in, and that's expandable to the left if we need to. So that's good. We'll just continue with the next part. So the next part is the blender, and I do not have a blueprint for that. So we'll just see what we can do to make this smooth as possible. So we need double fluid input and 1 coal output. Alright, and we need to connect this power to this, and then we need to move this to here. And then we're making 138.89. Question is, how much fuel is it going to take into the fuel generator? And we need to loop this now back into the compacted coal. And this is going to be not the most ideal, but it'll do. Merger. Now let's see how big these are. Okay, there we go. We now have the fuel. Oh, we need a sink, of course. So we'll put a awesome sink here. And connect that to power. Okay. Let's connect the oil, which I should have probably done first. So the oil will come in, the fuel will go out, the compacted coal will come in, the turbo fuel will go out, turbo fuel, and the... oh shit, I made a mistake. That is meant to be nitric acid, not the pure form of it, so I need to change this. Okay, so now we have the two blenders set up, and they are making the nitric acid with the nitrogen gas, the water, and the iron plate coming in. I just made a temporary setup here just because it's such a small requirement. It's just one smelter, one constructor, no shards or anything, and it's enough to keep both of them going. But if I need to add more in the future, I can just expand it. But I've found that it actually makes a lot of rocket fuel, like 138, and then each of these fuel generators only take 4 per minute. So, I mean, just from one. So 138, let's say 140 divided by 4.17. That's 33 generators for one of these. So I'm looking at 66 generators that I can put down from just these two. So previously I thought, oh, I'm going to have to expand all of these out, but it feels like I've got unlimited power here, because just from that one thing of oil, I can put down these 5, map it to these 5, have unlimited compacted coal coming in and gas coming in, and like I can expand this to like this is going to give me 66 fuel generators, but I can expand this to like 130. 66 times 2 is how many fuel generators that I can put down, which is a lot more than I thought. I thought it was going to be like 20 per second that it was going to be consumed, 20 per minute that it was going to be consuming, but 4 is crazy. But I think in order to lower the footprint, I'm gonna probably just put in 3 power shards in every single one of these fuel generators. And I can do that because I'm generating the synthetic power shards at the moment, but that is gonna give me a ton of power. Okay, so now we have these 2 blenders set up, one each going to its own column of fuel generators. And right now I just have 4 on each side, but we can go up to 33 on each side. So I'm just going to keep expanding out that way. That's probably going to get in the way, but I'll just build around it, should be fine. And I'll just use a blueprint that I have here for 4 fuel generators. And then I can just line it up with that and place it down. And then all I need to do is connect that pipe to there and that power pole to this one, and then boom, I have 4 more starting up, and then I'll just continue that outward. Okay, and to probably save on space, I'm just going to be putting in power shards to each of these, just so that it's requiring more, but I don't have to put down more and more fuel generators. So I'll put that in for each of these just to make it so that I get a lot more power for the space that I'm using. Okay, so we have got ourselves a massive amount of power here. So each column here is 12 fuel generators, and they are all overclocked with 3 power shards each. So each of them gives 625 megawatts. And we've done that on both of these blenders that are outputting the rocket fuel. So 625 times 24 in total, and that's going to give us, I've written it down, 15,000 megawatts. And that's just one part of the factory that we're going to set up. So 15,000 megawatts, we can at least double that, because we just need to put down another 5 refineries here, another 5 here for turbo, and then we just link in all of these fuels and compacted coal and nitric acid all across to the next set, and then we can do another 2 columns out there, and that's going to give us a total of 30,000 megawatts, which is just amazing. And just keep in mind that you don't need power shards for this, but it helps with space a lot, because you'd need like 33 of these fuel generators out here for one of these columns. But since I've overclocked them with 3 power shards, I only need 12. So I'm going to work on the next part of the expansion for this now. Okay, so now I've put in the second lot of fuel generators, and it's a bit scuffed at the end there because it's got the geothermal generator in the middle, so I have to kind of like nudge it to the left a little bit for the end of it, but I mean, it works. And I also upgraded these 2 blenders here. Just as they were fine for this amount of setup, pretty much exactly actually, but I put 2 in there to double both of them, so that it can be expanded for twice as much as what is here. But that's dependent on as long as I've got enough of the nitric gas, which I do because it's got 600 in there, and they take 240 each on these ones. And then compacted coal, I just completely over provisioned on that, so that'll be fine for pretty much forever. And the water is just one water extractor is 120, and it's not even overclocked, and it's enough for both of these overclock machines. So now we've got this, I'm gonna try and see if I can expand it at least once more, where I have another 1, 2, 3, 4 columns across here, but I think I'm going to run out of room, and it's probably not going to fit, but I'll see how far I can get. Okay, here we are. We've finished the extension of it now to this left side, and we was just enough room to fit in these this extra setup here. So in total, each one of these lines here has 12 fuel generators at 625 megawatts each, because they got 3 power shards in them for 250% increase. So 12 times 625 is 7,500 megawatts, and we've got basically one of those for each of these blenders. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in total, this entire power plant is generating 45,000 megawatts, and that is not even using all of the oil in this section. So if you look over here, I've got like 1 pure and 1 normal and 1 normal that I'm using. For the 2 normals give 300 each, so there's 1 for each of these, and then another one here that goes over to here. So we've actually got more room that we could add even more, but obviously we haven't got any more real estate on this floor. And if we look at the map over here, there's another pure, 2 more pure crude oils and 1 impure, but we won't be using that. So we can actually add, for every pure one, it's essentially this whole block here. We can add this whole block from another pure times 2, because we've got 2 pure nodes. So what we can actually do here is expand this by doing a whole roof over the whole thing, and doing the same thing again with those 2 extra pure nodes, and we can get even more rocket fuel power plants. So let's see if we can do that, and then we can get something like 90,000 megawatts out of this single location. Okay, we've now made a whole second floor that we can use. So I'm gonna go and pick up these pure crude oil patches now and pipe them back to here, which they're pretty close, shouldn't be too hard. But I did realize that actually the nodes here, I've claimed them all, but I'm only actually using 2 of them, because I remember I piped only 2 of them up here to get 600 in a Mark II pipe. So I'm going to have to run another pipe side by side there, all the way back down here again, so that I have enough nitrogen gas for the second floor, because we kind of topped these ones out to take the 600 pipe. So I'll work on that, and then we can set up the next part. So this is my setup that I have at the moment for compacted coal. I've got that pure coal and pure sulfur nodes being fed into this factory here. So the one on the right there, and then right down there, they're conveniently right next to each other. And these are pure nodes, so they output quite a lot, and 480 per minute at the moment. And right now I actually don't have enough to facilitate the existing factory that I've set up, because this is 62.5 per minute, and I've got 5 of them, and I need 400 per minute to facilitate the one that I have set up at the moment, not including the second level that I want to do. So if I add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 more, then I'll have enough for the bottom level, but then that'll make 7, so I have to put another level for 7 for the other factory level that I have for the rocket fuel. So I'm just gonna expand that setup now, and then we should have enough to be able to split it, put it on one belt, and then split it when we get to the end there. And we also need more of this nitric gas, so I'll do another pipe from here all the way through down to the factory as well. Okay, so I've expanded that now to pretty much 3 times as much now, and the belts are now fill up with compacted coal, and I needed about 13 machines, but I put down 15 just because of the blueprint that I had, so it's a little bit overkill, but at least it's going to fill up the belt and allow us to split it when we get to the factory to that second level of the rocket fuel. So now that that's set up, I'll just let it fill up with the other resources too, and in the meantime I'll pipe some more of this nitrogen gas on a second pipe down to the factory. Okay, so for my first pipe I had 300 here and 300 here feeding into a 600 pipe. For this one I've got a 150 and a 150, which makes 300, plus another 300 makes 600, all merging together into the 600 pipe here. And I have some other ones that I could use, but that's like 75. That one's 300, which is pretty good. So and another 75. So I could make it almost up to another 600, but since I don't need it, I'm just going to leave them empty for now. And then I'll just pipe this nitrogen gas back to the factory. Okay, so I've piped that nitrogen gas back to the base now with the second pipe, and the compacted coal is pretty much backed up and ready to be split. So now I can build on that second level up top, and we'll start with making these blenders here that's creating the nitric acid, and we'll also do the iron plates on the second level as well, just to mirror that, and then we can start building the main section with the fuel and everything else. Okay, so now I've replicated that bottom piece for the nitric acid up to the top now. So our second pipe is coming in, our iron plate is set up and going in, and we have a second water pump that is pumping water up and in. And it doesn't have power at the moment, but we've got everything we need to make sure that that gets created. So now we can start with the oil processing in this main section here. So to get the oil that we need, there's 2 more oil patches just in this little cave section here, and these are actually pure, both of them. So I'll get some oil extractors on both of these, and then we can see that that is going to give us 240. So we'll just chuck something on here, make it 300. Actually, just for like future proofing it, let's put it all the way up to 600 per minute, because that way we get 2 sets out of each of them. So in our first level we actually had 3 sets of 5 for 15, but with these 2 combined we can get 4 sets of 5 for 20. So we'll see if we can fit that in the top level of the factory, since we have a little bit more room, but we'll see when we get there, I guess. So just making sure that we're using these Mark II pipes for the 600 output, and I'll pipe them just up over there so that we can start utilizing it for the next level. Okay, so now we've set up the oil input for 1 set of 5 going into 1 set of 5 for the turbo fuel, and we've just split the incoming compacted coal from downstairs, the over provision belt here, into half, and it's coming up and getting fed into this next stack. And we also set up the awesome sink here just for the byproduct of the, what's it called, the polymer resin. So now next step is to set up the blenders to make the fuel, the rocket fuel, and then feed them into the generators. Okay, so here we have it. The setup on the top floor now is complete. So we've got the 2 blenders here making the rocket fuel, and each blender with rocket fuel is going into these 12 fuel generators, and each of them are maxed out with the 3 power shards as usual. So we have 12 here and 12 here, each have their own pipe from the blenders themselves. And we've also got the byproduct output of the compacted coal feeding back into the queue here that's coming from from downstairs. So that's 1 set of 5 that we've done for 300 oil, and now we can do the second half of the 600 pipe for the other 300 to mimic the setup that we've just done here, and then we can do 2 more after that. So I'll get started on that. and you'll see that expand on this top floor here. Okay, so now I've set up all of the basis for the fuel, the turbo fuel and the rocket fuel, and I've got like a bunch of like 4 for each pipe coming out of each of the rocket fuel blenders across here. But I realized with all of these machines it requires a ton of motors, and my whole supply of motors ran out, so I'm just kind of waiting for them to build at the moment, and once I have enough then I can start building these fuel generators. But I found that it's best to only have 4 for each at the start and let it build up, so that all of these 4 machines are at the maximum of 50 rocket fuel, and then once all 4 are 50, then add on another 4 and then wait for them to fill up to 50 and then add in the last 4, because otherwise it takes quite a lot of time before it fully fills up to the full 12 at the back. So it's good to stagger the implementation of these fuel generators just so that they kind of all come on balanced sooner. So yeah, I'll wait for my motors to regen and then I'll stick in the rest of these. And there it is, we're all done. We've finished the rocket fuel power plant. Just a quick note around the compacted coal calculations. If you take into all of the compacted coal that's required for this top level and the bottom level together, you need about 933 per minute. And I'm only using tier 5 belts to bring it down at the moment, and those tier 5 belts only take about 780 per minute. But just keep in mind that when we create the rocket fuel in these blenders here, they create a byproduct of compacted coal at 13.889 using one of these power shards. And if you add all of them together, the top and the bottom floors, it gives a byproduct total of 194. So the actual belt of compacted coal that's coming down here only requires actually 738 per minute, which is within range of a tier 5 belt. So that all pretty much works out perfectly. And the total power output of both levels, if we do some calculations, each one of these is got the 3 shards in it, so it's 625 megawatts for just one. And then if we times that by 12 per row, all together, at one row of 12 will be 7,500 megawatts. And then if we pretty much count that by each of these blenders, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that means it's 60,000 megawatts out of this one power plant on the top level. Now on the bottom level we ran out of space a little bit, so we couldn't produce as much. But if we do the same calculations on the bottom level, we've got 6 blenders at 7,500 each, so that's 45,000 megawatts on the bottom level. So all up, both levels, bottom and top, all together it's 105,000 megawatts of power. So it's a pretty big power plant giving a lot of power, and this is gonna last me pretty much forever. Well, not forever, but you know, a very long time. Keeping in mind that if I look at the power grid now, when I finished the game and started building this power plant, I was pretty much coming up to my max consumption. I had a lot more machines running back then, so the consumption was a lot closer to the max consumption, but it was like getting pretty close to tripping. And now that I've finished the power plant, look at all of that power I now have. And keep in mind that this is a fuel type power plant, so I don't have to worry about waste. I don't have to worry about bringing in all of these other products to like nuclear is. It's much more stable, much more reliable. So that's pretty much it. That's the whole power plant. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you stuck through it through the whole way. If you like this one, then please make sure you give me a like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.